Hello everyone, I'm Tim and I am one of the owners of InflatableOffice and EventOffice, and I'm happy to welcome you to our webinar tonight, which is about making your workforce excellent the easy way. And we call the easy way using our software. And maybe it's just easy for us, but I'm going to go through a bunch of things here with you today on what our software can do to help you have an excellent workforce and make it easy for yourself to manage it. So this is going to be less detailed than some of our webinars get. It's going to be a little more of an overview because we have so much that we offer for worker management. And the big reason for that is because way back before this software was actually something you could purchase, before it was a company, when it was something I was using just for my company, self-scheduling was something that I built very early on. A worker portal is something I built very early on because it was a very big pain for me. Because the irregularity of this business, it was very difficult to get people to commit to working for me when I needed them to. And so what I decided to do was set it up so I could get a pool of people who were willing to work, but their schedules may not always line up, and let them kind of sign up for their own work. As part of that, we built a whole ranking system to make sure that your best employees could sign up for as much as they wanted, and your newer or your employees that weren't as desirable to be there at the job for you wouldn't get as much work. So now, I always scheduled my managers, I will say that, because someone who is managing an event or driving, you need someone a little more responsible and things like that. But for the most part, the self-scheduling was a huge thing for me. And like I said, we were doing that back in 04, 05, which is really early. Maybe earlier than most of the other popular workforce self-scheduling software that's out there today. So we have over the years continued to improve upon this area of our software, and we have a lot of big plans coming for the future. So, and I can talk about those a little bit as well. But anyway, we're going to do an overview. There's a lot to cover here, and as always, what I'd like to do is go through everything with you here for probably the first 30 minutes of the webinar. Sometimes it's 25, sometimes it's 45 minutes. We'll see where we end up today, and then after that's over, I'll go through the comments that you guys have made. If you have any questions, put them in there, and I'll be sure to read back through those as best I can. Sometimes if you put too many in, I think it doesn't let me go back that far. But yeah, if you put those down, I will be happy to answer those questions at the end of it. So let's get started. So I've divided this into a bunch of different topics. So I'm going to start first with scheduling. We kind of talked a little bit about self-scheduling. The self-scheduling works, first you have to do your part. So one of the things that you're going to do, first of all, if you're using our workers module, you want to get workers into here. We recommend what you do is you take this link right here, this worker site link, and you can say copy link, and you can send that out in an email to all the people that you want to work for you, or you could post it up on job boards or whatever you want. And when people register, they're going to come into here. Now they won't look green like this, and you won't see them unless you're looking at the unapproved workers. And in this demo account, we don't have any unapproved workers, but that's what you would check to see if you've got a new person that's interested in working. So once you find somebody, you're going to come in here. And you're going to go ahead and mark them approved up here. You're also going to be doing some things like setting positions for them, so that and you can build these positions to whatever you want, and some permissions. And most of the permissions that you're going to do with a general laborer, somebody who's not doing office work, is you're going to do. You can type in worker site. I think it's worker site. Let's see. Yeah, worker site. So you can see we highlight all these down here. These are the permissions that more likely you're going to set up for them. You don't really need to worry about the other permissions usually for these types of workers. and we give you quite a bit of ability to pick and choose what you want. So those are the primary settings you're going to do for your worker. And then when it comes to scheduling, there's two primary ways to do it, and I'll do the first one. I'll show you on the leads. You can schedule direct on a lead. So if we were to go and look at a lead, there is a shift option over here on the left. If we scroll down to that or click to go to that, you can see we can add a shift directly to that job. That is the first way we ever built the ability to do this, and of course you can select the position and name, or you can leave it empty. And if you leave it empty, it will attempt to if you leave it empty, that's your self-scheduling. So if you want them to be able to fill it in themselves, you leave that empty. And of course you can say whether you want someone to be able to self-schedule or not when you're setting up their permissions. So or if you want your company to allow that, you just you either, if you don't want to allow that, you don't fill, always fill them in when you create the shifts. That's the other thing you can do. So so that was the first way, and that's specific to the lead. We try to fill in the times that match with the lead. Of course, you may have different times there, but the other way I think maybe a little better. So we have a routing module, and we're working on rebuilding this, refreshing it, making it look a little more like what our current interface looks like. So this is a routing module, and looks like here I have an issue with the way I set this up, so I'm going to pull this off here. You can see it'll tell me if I create a conflict based on the way I scheduled stuff. So I had created a conflict in that case, so I'm going to just add another one on here because I want to show you. Let's see, I'll pull that one off too. There we go. So we'll add a few on here. Basically, if I you can have things scheduled over top of each other in a way that you couldn't potentially, realistically service a job. So, what we do is here is when you save it, we, check that stuff and let you know. So I'm going to save this one right now, and I think I have some shifts already set up on that. So this is the other way to do shifts. So once you schedule these, and these are blocks that correspond to times, okay? So the green is the travel time. This happens to be a drop-off color. So this is the time that you're going to drop off, and you're going to set up that equipment for them, and then travel to the next destination. So we use mapping information to give you the appropriate times between stuff. You can click and drag these around if you want, and we also show you when you're late in the red text, and when you're early in the yellow text, and when you're right on time. And that line there, that pink line, is set by you. It's what you've told the customer when you told them you're going to arrive. So a lot of times, and if you see these down here, you can see that line. It gives me some leeway there. So I told the customer I'd be there in that half-hour window, it looks like. Not to get too into routing. Once you figure out the routing, there's a way to schedule right here by clicking on this little calendar. And I'm going to actually remove these and reschedule them since we did make a change to it. So in this case, I want a driver, Sam, and again, we try to fill these times in appropriately. So you can see this starts at 8 a.m. and once we fill this in, I'll show you that the other one most likely ends at 7:30 p.m. Yeah, 7:30 p.m. Back to the warehouse time. So once that's done, that's how you schedule. And again, I could leave a blank spot there if I wanted as well. But those are the two ways that you can do the scheduling. I would recommend doing it on the routing, because you have to route anyway. You still need to figure out what vehicle you're going to have it in, when you're going to leave, all those different things. So this is a really convenient way to do the scheduling. And when the case that you have multiple leads, what's going to happen is we're going to actually fill that schedule in on the lead for you. So if I click here, I'm going to open up that lead. You're going to see, if we go down to the shifts, a portion of this large shift is attributed to this lead. So if I click down here, you can see, right here, you can see that we have it scheduled in the vehicle, and we have our driver and our laborer. And the portion of their time that's spent at that event shows up here on that event. you can see that these are not things that we can change. That's intentional. Because you schedule it through the routing, we want you to change it through the routing as well. So anyway, so we'll go back here. So those are the two different ways that you can do your scheduling. After you've scheduled your workers, I'm going to try to kind of go in order of how you would do it with your employment force, your workforce. So after you schedule them, the next big thing is really getting the word out to them, right? So there's a few ways that we can do this, and we're going to talk about our self-scheduling here as well. So let's go here and switch to this. This is the workers site where they can log in to a separate portal. This is all something that you get when you use our software. And that's that link that I showed you before. That's the same place they can register. That's the same place they log in. And when they log in, they get this view, and this view is very mobile friendly. It's built specifically for mobile. We're looking at it on a desktop, and it looks decent on a desktop as well. But it is made specifically for mobile. So we can see in this case here, I don't have anything in the future, but I have some stuff in the past here. And in this case, I've also given this employee the ability to see other people's shifts, and I've also given this employee the ability to see shifts that have already passed. So they can go back to those, at least for a period of time. The current day is highlighted here. If I click on this date, I'll see all those shifts that I'm able to see. And when we have an empty shift, that would show up there as well. There's a key down here saying available, not available, or assigned shifts. So you can see this is one I'm assigned to, this is one that's not available to me, someone else is assigned to it. These happen to be the same shift. This is the driver, this is the laborer in this case. So if I were to click on this shift, I'm going to get some additional information. This is a template area here. It looks like it's not. This is our demo account, and it looks like the demo account does not have that template set up properly. But you can put in whatever you want right here. Anything about the lead that you need that worker to be able to see. And let me see if I click this other one. If we get it, no, same things. So there's also a bunch of other buttons down here of different things that they can access, and these are based on their permissions. So if they don't have permission, we wouldn't display this button. So this takes us back to be able to print the delivery route. This is directions of where we're going to be, and then these are where we're going to meet, and these are the actual directions to deliver the event. And if we're doing it on a phone, that's going to open up in your GPS, your Google, or whatever you're using. We have the packing list we can pull up here. We can pull up contracts for payment. So if they show up and they need to take payment, they can click on that and then let the customer take payment that way. We have manager surveys. That's another thing that we offer, is a way to keep track of what happened at the event and have those surveys filled out so that you can kind of have a record of that. We also have the ability for you to put items into maintenance, and what that can do is trigger some alerts to different people, and it'll also take it out of your inventory based on whether they deem it a critical thing that needs maintained before it goes out again, or if it's just a minor thing, then it wouldn't take it out of inventory. But someone will get that alert to know. And then of course attachments. So if there are different attachments that are specific to that lead, they can open those up and see. Maybe it's a map of the campus or some additional paperwork that you might want them to have. The other thing that you'll see in a lot of cases, and I'm not sure why it's not showing up in this instance, but usually what you're going to see is the option to do directions to all of the events or just a specific one. So there's a drop down that will show here in many cases that lets you pick the entire route or just a certain specific event that you're going to. So this is also, I believe, a template that you can set, so you can determine what data is showing in here as well. So that's kind of nice. If you want to see additional data in there, you can have that show as well. Navigating the calendar is pretty simple, and I think that's all I want to do on this one. I want to show you the time clock. So again, if you're doing self-scheduling, they're gonna see what's available. They're gonna see if it's not available because we have that ranking system. So there's certain things that may not be available until a certain date, and I believe it tells them that as well, so they can know when they can log in to actually grab that shift if it's still available. We have a time clock feature, which will note their geolocation, so they can't do it from their bed at home and get away with it. If there is a shift that's scheduled near that time, we will show it, or show all of them that they're scheduled for around that time, and let them choose those shifts. And a lot of times what we can do is we can pick the right one for them, so they don't have to, or they can just do unscheduled time. So if you have someone who's just working at the warehouse for you and you want them to clock in here, or even at the office, you could do that. They can select their position. You can see there's only one listed here because that's the only position he's allowed to be in, and then they can put a note in here. Once you've clocked in, you can do, and I can just do a clock in here. Once you clocked in, you have to allow the geolocation stuff to work. You're going to see that you can then clock out. And it looks like my geolocation, maybe I hit the wrong button there on the geolocation here. Oh, here we go. So once you've clocked in, it'll show you that information. You can clock out or you can do a break. And the way we just treat those a little different. So the breaks, so it treats it as one whole shift if you're doing a break. I don't think in either case we don't give any credit to the break or the clock out. But in some cases, it might be useful for them to say, I was eating my lunch, I did a break, and then later they clock out. So, but you have to have the permission set. So if they decline location permission, it's not going to work. It's going to fail to work because we want to get that geolocation, and then I can show you later on the payroll stuff where that shows up. But again, we have our surveys here. So if there are any surveys that this person was supposed to complete based on things that they passed, leads that they did in the past, then those would show up here. Leads, this is really something you probably wouldn't give permission to, but that's just to view some leads. This is again, something you probably wouldn't give permission to very often. This is if you want to do a quote on your mobile for someone. And then we have some settings here, so they can sync this with their Google Calendar so that they can not forget their shifts. They can do some profile editing. We have a whole training program, and we also have a safety program that they can do. And I'm not going to go into those right now. But this is kind of how one of the ways that you can communicate with your workforce is by having them go to that site and use that regularly to see when they work and so forth. Some of the other ways to communicate, of course, are email. And we have a variety of ways inside of our email center here. And the way to find those is really just to type in worker, let's see here, category worker. And so now we're seeing all the worker emails, the ones that are on, the ones that are off as well. So you can see, what different options you have. Lots of assignment reminders, like you've been assigned a shift. There's lots of there's some options to show when it's paid. There's some training emails, training and safety emails. That's for our safety program. You can set all these things up so that they're getting the appropriate emails. You can set up some manual ones, and you can go and manually email from the worker screen if you want to do that. Say you want to send everybody in one position a certain email about that position, something they need to know, you can quite easily do that. A lot of these things have different options on when they go out. So this one says send 4 days after assignment. The reason why a lot of times we're sending, you wouldn't want to make this too low. So I have some people that try to put in like 0.001 because they want it to send immediately. That's really not how it works. If I put in 1 day, it's going to try to send 1 day before. So it has 24 hours to send. It's going to immediately try, it's going to try as soon as possible. And if it fails, or there's just a lot going out for your account, so it can't send the first time we try, it may send an hour later or something like that. But this gives it 24 hours to make sure it's sent it out. You don't really want to put really, really low numbers usually. That's what that causes is it usually will get it won't go out a lot of times. So we've also given you some ability recently to say when you want to start and end as far as when this is sending out. So in this email, we also have some options. So I'll go over these real quick, where you can have accept or decline. You can also have something like acknowledge versus, so that you know that they at least got this. Maybe you don't allow them to decline, so you can do stuff like that. The other thing that we allow you to do, or one option that you can turn on, is allowing employees to find someone to work their shift for them. So there's a nice button there that we give them that what they can do is say, I can't work this shift, can someone take it? It'll send to everybody in that position, and they can, you know, log in and take that shift if they want. If they don't take it, that person is still scheduled for it, so it doesn't remove them from it. It doesn't get them out of the job, but it does give them the option of trying to find a replacement on their own without contacting you and expecting you to do it, which is really nice. And you know, it's very clear from our standpoint, and you know, we always encourage you to make it even more clear that when they do use that, it does not get them out of the job. They have to find someone to replace them before they're out. And again, that's a permission you can set per employee. So the other thing you can do, if you're using our IO phone system, you can do texting. So if we were to go to our phone area here, and I don't know that the demo account is set up to work like this or not, but oops, wrong spot. So we would go to our text message templates, and we actually have some worker ones in here, it looks like, some that you can set up to go out, but you can make your own as well. And through an automation, you can choose that and tell it when you want it to send out, in what cases. So we could do things like, I want to send a text message to my driver, and I want it to always send an hour before they have to leave. Some of the things with text message sending, it's a little, there's a lot of rules with text messages, and there are rules on when we can send things. So I believe you're not supposed to send at night, basically. And so we are limited on that. So if you do have someone leaving at night, don't expect a text message to wake them up and get them there to the warehouse in time. That's not going to work for you, because we're not allowed to send those at night. But you do have the option through our phone product and using our automations to send those text messages as well. One of the things I didn't go over was one of our email templates here. One of the things that happens quite frequently is you have cases where you may assign somebody and then things change, and this one is a really good email for that. We kind of monitor that, and we'll look to see if something's changed, and we'll send them what the changes are, what they've been added to, removed from, or any shift that has a different time. Of course, we always tell them to check their real schedule online. That's the best place, and you should really encourage your employees to get used to doing that on that workers portal, because that's the best place to know exactly what's going on, in case for some reason an email gets caught in spam or whatever. You want them to know exactly what's happening. Like I said, another good thing is the Google Calendar, but there are times when your calendar gets disconnected. Maybe they changed their Google password or whatever. So that one is very useful, but it's not as good as the actual worker site that we provide. So in addition to texting, and you can manually text as well through this phone system, you can also do tasks. So if you have our CRM, you can come in here and you can say, clean cotton candy machine. And you can say, I want to email my person this, and I want it to be, maybe this is something I repeat every week. So we're going to start on the 17th, and we're going to repeat weekly. We just want them to clean it every week. And you can link it to lead if you want. You don't have to. And you can assign a worker over here and save that task. And what's going to happen is when they complete that task, it's going to let you know that they got it done. They're going to see an email notice of that task. There's also a lot of other ways to work with tasks in our system, and with our new worker app, that we're actively working on, that is going to be something that is very present inside of that app. So that's another way to communicate with your employees. And the last thing I wanted to cover with communicating with your employees is our training stuff. So let me see here. Where's our training? So we have a couple different things. We have our safety training. That is basically some things that we built. No, that is not the right place. It is, let's see, safety. Those are some things that we built that you can set up. So we have different topics, and you can assign equipment to those topics, and then you can require your employee to take those tests for the setup or the operation, or both. And you can also do that with your customers as well, just as an FYI. So once you set all that stuff up, it'll automatically manage that. And for employees, it makes them get 100% right, so it won't let them pass it until they've done that, and so they'll have to take it until they get 100%. And it'll do that. It'll make sure they take it every 9 months, I believe, to make sure they're doing their, they know what's going on. The other thing that it's going to do is it's not going to let them sign up for a shift that they haven't passed a safety training certification for. So, but additionally, we have training stuff that you can make yourself. So you can come into here and you could say, I want to add a training quiz, enter in the name, and let's see, do I have one down here without going through all this process? We're going to go here to the demo one. It looks like there's one. Okay, so we're looking just at, these are just the training names. We actually have to pick it over here to see the questions on it. All right, so here's our demo training quiz. So this isn't really the questions that you would do here, but this is how you would set it up. You can just display content, whether it's all the stuff you want them to read and understand, a video, whatever you want, and then you can also do different types of questions and then quiz them on it. So you can build multiple different ones of these. Scott, it's pretty flexible for doing that. So and this is a really good practice, because what you can do is really save yourself a lot of time. You want to make sure that you don't forget things when you tell your employees and train your employees. So this is a good place to put it. You go to maybe seminars or hear people talking on Facebook about different things that that they want to make sure that are different things that are happening to their companies and things that they learned with employees. This is the place to add all that stuff in and make sure that you've built a really good training system for your employees and make sure that they get it. And so once you've built a training system, or some of those training things, you can come into the employee and you can go down to the training area and you can say which one that they're required to take, and this will also show when they completed it. And you can mark it completed if for some reason you're satisfied with their training and don't want them to take it. You can do that. And like I said, every 9 months it's going to have them recertify. I think we keep a history of that though, so we can look back. So that's kind of it for communication, but a lot of ways to communicate and a lot of automatic ways to communicate with your employees. So that's really good. So after you've scheduled everybody, you've communicated with everybody, of course they go and perform the work. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about our worker app, because that's really where it shines right now. So in addition to our worker site, so there will be some things that maybe your staff would use the site for, but our app is set up to really handle packing lists well right now, and we have some new things coming out very soon that's going to make that even better. So the way it's supposed to work right now is an employee will log into the app and they can see exactly what's coming up, what's happened in the past. As far as events go, you can set a filter on the employee. So if you don't want them to see certain things, like maybe they just deal with linen or plates and silverware, and so you don't need them to see the rest of the stuff, you can set a filter on that employee that will exclude everything else. They'll be able to go in there, and we have multiple statuses for packing lists, and you can alter these to some degree, and we're going to give you more chances to alter them hopefully soon. But they can go through these different steps. These are the ones that we thought of, and I'm sure you guys will come up with other ones, or maybe you only need 2 of these, but they'll be able to go through and check items off and say, these items are prepared, these items are loaded, these items are delivered, etc. And some of the stuff that, of course, we're going to do is make that kind of automatic in some cases. Like we will know when the vehicle arrives at the proper GPS location, and we can prompt the employee and say, hey, did you get everything delivered? Or maybe when they're leaving that location, we prompt them. So those are some things that are coming with the app to make it possible for you to track that really well. So the other thing that we do with the app is a lot of QR code stuff. So you can have things labeled that they have to scan to check that they've actually loaded it, or you can have them check it with a checkbox in their finger. So either way you want to do it, you can do it both ways. You can require that they scan it. It's up to you. So we have some really good stuff coming out with that soon. Right now, if you look at it, you have to save it every time you do some work in there. And if someone else is also loading at the same time for the same event, they're not going to get that update unless they refresh. So we're changing that. So those will be immediate, and people will, you won't have to save it. Once you check it, it'll send to everybody else who's looking at that, let them know that you've already taken care of it. So a lot of cool stuff coming for that. So after they've done that and the event's over and they've done the survey, we have payroll, right? We have to pay these people, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately. They deserve the pay. So here's an example of a payroll summary. So if you go into logistics and go to payroll, and this will mark all of the shifts that were scheduled. It will also mark and list all of the people who clocked in or out, and it will also show you commission. So in addition to, and we're talking primarily on the logistics side with your warehouse and your laborers, but you guys have salespeople and you have marketing people possibly, and they may be doing other things, and maybe they deserve a commission, and so you can set up commission as well, and it will track this too. And you know, I know some people that use, in fact we did a new report, and I don't know if it's going to show up in this demo account properly or not, because this, but we have a new report. Let's see, where is it? Okay, we have a sales rep leaderboard. There's really nothing here to see, but we do show you all your sales reps. So if you make a position called sales, that is a sales rep position, and you assign your people to it, and they're assigning themselves or getting assigned to leads, this information is pretty invaluable to see how their performance is, and you can use it to reward them as well. But in addition to, you know, along with our payroll stuff, we actually have it built in to where you can set commission stuff on these, and it'll show up in here. So we also do hourly or like a contractor style pay. So we do show miles in here in case you're doing any mileage reimbursements if they use their own vehicle, and then if you're doing like a contractor pay. The pay type would be, instead of hour, it would be by the job, and it would show it differently. So now we're seeing, you know, the hours and then the actual pay amount. Most of the time you're going to use this hour thing, and you can see here if I click this, this is where you see your clock in and out, and you can see where they actually did it. In this case they didn't clock in or out, but you can see that if there's a real big difference, we show that to you. We highlight it to say, hey, there might be a problem here. They were scheduled for 8 hours, they worked 12 and a half. So all that information is in there, and you can alter it if for some reason they made a mistake as well. But you can mark it approved, and you can mark it paid, and then you can also export. So if I want to export and maybe take it to ADP or some other payroll processor, we like to use QuickBooks Online, but unfortunately they only will import T-sheets stuff because they bought T-sheets, so we haven't been able to integrate with that yet. I'm hoping they open that up, but you'll see you can get quite a bit of information here sent over to your payroll system just by exporting your payroll like that. And you can also do things you know, that maybe we're not doing for you, like maybe some factor times the mileage and give them a different amount. When it comes to the pay rate, the actual amount that shows up here, that's based on pay rate. And you can set a pay rate per worker, you can set it per position, or you can set it for the combination. So you could say, if this worker is working in this position, I want them to earn this amount. So we will look at all of those and appropriately choose the right one. So the other thing that we do when it comes to, and it doesn't really show up on the payroll report, but we do a lot with tipping, and that was something that we did kind of right around the COVID time, because we were trying to come up with ways for people to make their employees happy, to help them earn extra money, and the tipping option is a great way to do it. It also helps the company at times too. So I'm not going to talk about the tipping during checkout, and I'm not going to go too deep into tipping because we have whole videos on it. But you can see here, that you have we have a company tip page, an employee tip page, and these are templates that you can adjust to your liking. What you'll do is you'll pull a QR code let's see, where is that? Here's your company tip page, here's your company QR code. So you can put this on your trucks, on your t-shirts, on whatever you want. And if the page, someone at the event, it doesn't have to be the customer, it could be anyone at the event, if they decide they want to tip and they scan that, it's going to take them to the appropriate page with the appropriate users, because we're looking at their geolocation, and we're going to show them what event they're at and who's there, and who they can then kind of tip through Venmo or PayPal or Square, however they want to do it. So it's a really neat little thing that we built. So I recommend doing it. You want to make your workforce as happy as possible. This is an easy way to give them more options to make more money, and money that you're not actually putting up. So I strongly recommend it. So let's see. Last few things here I want to cover. There is a lot to this. I could spend a whole webinar on lots of these little topics and go through in extreme detail. We have done that, so if you're really interested in one of these topics we've talked about here, I would say search our YouTube channel, search our Facebook channel, and find what we've done already for that. Search our help database as well. If something's missing, let us know. Like I said, this area is getting a lot of refresh over the next few years, and so we will be doing more docs and improving a lot of this stuff. So one last thing I want to say just about this product is the workers module. It really enhances a lot of our other products. So two of the products that I can think of, just in general, it enhances everything you're doing inside the normal software. So your normal plan, you get multiple logins when you're doing that. You can set permissions, of course. So there's a lot of things right there you can do. You can have a sales rep on a lead for commission purposes. If you're using our phone product, there's a ton of stuff that you can do with phones. You can set ring schedules so that it's calling the right people. So you could have the delivery driver getting calls. You could have whomever you want getting calls in these ring schedules. You can set up groups so that you have like a sales group or a warehouse group or whatever. But there's a lot of things that you can do with. So if you're purchasing like the phone product, or you're purchasing the CRM, that's another example. If the CRM you can open up a lot of other things by using the workers module. So you get more out of these other products as you add new modules to it. And we're not doing that to kind of like trick you or get more money out of you. It's just that if you don't have the workers stuff, we can't bring that into the phone, right? So that's why getting as many modules as possible that you can afford, you can really just get the most out of our software. So that's the kind of the last thing I wanted to go over right now, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to go through the questions here that are in the comments and just kind of answer them. We don't have a big group today. I knew that was going to be the case. We've had this is kind of the start of the season. The weather's been good, and everybody's busy, and they're out probably working. So and also this topic, for some reason, even though I think it's it's super important, it was one of the things that I did really early on for my company. I find that people kind of bypass it, they ignore it, or they just don't get to it. Maybe that's the better explanation of it. You want to make those sales, you want to get those jobs, but doing that, you want to make sure those jobs are done efficiently and well, so that you get repetitive sales and you don't spend a lot of money doing those jobs. So that's why things like this worker stuff really makes a big difference. And like I said, it does get ignored a lot. So, but we offer you quite a bit built in our software. So anyway, let me go through a few of these questions here. It looks like we're not going to have much to go through. So if you have a question and you're still here, please ask it. This is the time to ask it. Will the video end up on the YouTube page? Yes, it will. Webinar videos are always really long. We're doing a webinar. We're covering a lot of stuff. We set it up to be about an hour in length. You definitely can come and watch it. I would watch it on double speed, or find what tidbit you really need out of it. You might be better to search some of our help database, to tell you the truth. We try to put a lot of those videos that we do specific topics on in our help database with the verbal explanation as well. I'm sorry, the typed explanation. But this will be up there. It will also be on our Facebook page. What did you miss? Oh, you didn't miss much. But like I said, the video is going to be up, and we'll get you there. And the same place you register for the webinar, you can go back to and see all of these. We're going to link to all of them on YouTube. So every time we get one done, we put it on YouTube and link to it. So my workers have split shifts, and I want to schedule for deliveries and then pickups. Okay. So let me show you how you do that right now. So if for instance, and this is a pretty decent example here, I'm going to deliver this one early, I think, because I want to keep these tight, and then they have this big gap here, and then let's see, I want to do this. I can go later here. I know I can't move this one up because the event's not over yet, so I have to bring this one down and say, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to deliver it and pick it up like that. All we want to do is grab this return to warehouse block, and you see, like, when I grab it, it stays over there. So that means that I can bring my employees, they're going to leave from the warehouse, they're going to come back to the warehouse, and then the next, either the same people or our next group is going to go down here. So what we would do in that case is we're going to go ahead and remove these shifts. We're going to add a shift. We show the whole time here, but all you need to do is look at this and say 11:30 is the end. So I'm going to set this to 11:30. That's when we want this first person to come back, and then we're going to set up another one. I'm just going to do one per, and this time we're going to set it up at 4:45 because that's when they start, and then they come back at 7:30, just like that. We're going to schedule that guy again. The reason why we see a star there is because, and did I do that right? Yeah, it's showing that it's trying to show availability, and because the same driver is being used, when we first load it here, it uses that full time scale, and so that's why it's showing that person is not available. Technically they are, because we're changing the time, right? So, and I guess I could show that. So if we want to do it right, we would come down and let's do it again here. We'll do it again for you. So we want 4:45. If we go to 4:45 and we choose driver, and we're going to come over here. Let me leave it here because I don't know if he has a driver position, but this is an update field, so that tells us like to check. And now we see Sam Smith doesn't show he's unavailable because we've changed the time and we've told the system about it. So now we can schedule that. So if you are trying to find like a specific, I just want a laborer, you can click laborer and click update, and it's going to show you who your laborers are only. So that's how that works. If you want to split shifts, pretty easy. Let's see here. From an employee perspective, can they request time off prior to being scheduled? Let's see. That's something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, and I don't think we have that yet. But that is high on our list to add, and that'll probably show up in the app because we think the employees are going to use the app. We want them to use the app as opposed to the computer or the back end of the software. So that's going to show up in the app when it shows up. There is a way to do it right now. it's not ideal. I mean, what they would have to do is contact you, and you would have to add a fake event in. So if we did a fake event and we came down to that event, and I would suggest doing one maybe in the past year, like a year before, because you don't want to skew your statistics. But this event could be at any time, and I can change the shift to whatever. I could set it out to 2028 if I wanted to. So I can put in shifts, and maybe you have a position that's called like vacation or something, or unavailable, or whatever you want it to be, so that it's a little clearer why that's scheduled. But you would then schedule the person for that time that they're requesting off. So that's one way to do it. Okay. But we're coming up with, we'll have a better way to do that. Like I said, this is getting a lot of updates over the coming years here. So I was hoping to do most of those this year. It looks like some things are going to come to the CRM first, unfortunately. But we will be working at the same time on the workers module as well. So hopefully we'll have some new stuff. It probably just won't happen quite as fast as we wanted. So we'll probably extend into next year as well with some of these updates, because there's a lot to do with the workers area, I think, to help you guys out, and so we have a lot of good ideas. We want to put those in, and you guys have given us a lot of good ideas too. So let's see, anybody else have any questions? If you don't have the workers module yet, contact our sales reps. They would be happy to give you a trial for a month, to let you set that up and give it a try and see how you like it, and really put it through its paces. And I would also encourage you, when you do that, make sure you're, if you're struggling to get going on it, make sure you ask us for a meeting, and we'll meet with you and kind of go through what you have and help you get it going the right direction. We don't want you struggling through it. We're happy to do that with you. Just ask for a meeting or ask your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. And if you haven't noticed, a lot of our community here enjoys helping each other. So if you look here at the help stuff, here's all the ones that you're asking in your account. Here's all the ones that other people are asking, and we can see in here like that different people are replying here that are not employees of Inflatable Office, and they're helping each other. Everybody's helping each other out, and it's really cool to see that. You can see here's a list of people who are earning all sorts of points, even just this month, by helping people out. So make sure that you participate there as well. I'm sure there's something you can do to help someone, and something that you need help with as well. And when someone posts a new thing, a lot of times you're going to see a little thing show up here. It's going to say, hey, there's something new. That's a chance for you to click here and see if it's a question you might have as well, or if it's something you could help with. And that'll show up right at the top. So, and then every month we give away some prizes. As long as you're in the top 20, we do a drawing, and whoever's in the top 20, one person gets a prize. So anyway, is there any other questions that you guys or girls have tonight? I'm not seeing a ton of activity. I knew this was going to be a little bit of a harder one to get out. We're kind of at the end of the time where we can do things like this and people find interest, because I know your seasons are getting going. So okay, that sounds like that's it. So I am going to close it down. Thanks so much, everybody, for coming. And if you have any more questions or suggestions or anything else, make sure you send them in to us, or you can even post on this, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you all. Have a good night.